Want to do Cowboys to start, or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You said you have a lot of Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
I do. We're going to hop around here a little bit because we have 2 media appearances this week. I'm now listening to Jerry Jones on The Fan every Tuesday morning. He does it twice. I don't know that I've ever listened to a Friday. Is it Friday? And I know Steven does Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, I don't tune in, but I'm glad you're doing it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, they ask good questions. They have a good rapport with them, even though that one situation got sideways. Even that was great content. And then the other thing is Micah is, of course, still doing his podcast while injured. And this week he had Trevon Diggs on. So you already had the – boy, what's he going to say? The Cowboys got thumped again. That game was not as close as the final score indicates. You know, even though Turpin makes that catch, they have timeouts. They could have won that game. They were clearly manhandled. They were outcoached and out everything. So then you add in Trevon Diggs being his guest, who just got in a media confrontation with Mike Leslie, and it's like, okay, as the Cowboys turn, it's another week of the soap opera.
Did they address that?
Quite a bit. The first thing I want to play for you, though, is we were very curious about the Jones family car accident incident that we had heard about like an hour into the game while we were doing our stream.
Yeah, I got a few emails on that.
Yeah, so one guy told us it's called a bollard.
Yeah.
And there's a little video, so then hit that video, a bus goes through, and then as he says, a car tries to sneak in behind it into an area they're not supposed to be in, and that stops them. So the way Jerry explains it is that a car got through that wasn't supposed to be in, and as soon as that sensor goes off, which is very quick, these things shoot up. And it's not really like a slow, like, beep, beep.
It seems like an aggressive penalty for what could possibly be a mistake.
And you're not.
Even if you're just a car getting in some
But that's
line.
the thing. You're not getting the car that got in most of the time, I don't think. That car got in by accident. And so when it gets through, you're like, hey, this is a terrorist. We can't let anybody else in here.
So there's a good chance the car got airborne?
Well, listen.
As you enter these high-profile areas, and your stadiums are high profile, as you enter those nowadays, if a car goes in within a certain distance to the stadium, it's highly protected. And in this particular case, they've got lifts that can, frankly, if the trigger is flipped, can stop a car in its tracks. And this is the case, and comes up under the car. In this particular case, the car was totally busted, all the frame, everything. It's tremendous force, like if a small explosion had gone off under there. Tremendous. And those were the things that created the injuries. And I think my daughter's little wasn't feeling as good as she hoped she'd feel yesterday and today. My son, who was concussed, is feeling better.
Whoa!
They basically drove over.
Flipped the car over?
No, but I think it popped it up and snapped the frame wherever the thing hit. So
Jolted
it's like
them and
it's like hitting IED, like in a roadside bomb.
Damn.
And I mean that happened Sunday, and he said Charlotte's like not doing.
Like, that seems like too much.
It is too much.
Like, what about
Seems
it?
like a
Okay,
lot.
so if it's a gate and somebody breaks through it, whatever, these things happen.
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Wow.
So we'll go to Mike. We'll go to Micah and Trevon, and this is just hilarious. We know Micah's been doing this, but the stuff that they'll say is still shocking to me. How open and forthright they are about coaches, about players when they're ranking players around the league. It's just crazy to me. And, of course, they're asked. Trevon is asked by Micah, because one played, the other didn't, what was the difference between the first half where the Cowboys had it together on defense and the second half?
I feel like we had a good first half. Like, our calls was good. We were stopping the run. We was flying to the ball. We was just doing everything that we can, making sure they wasn't, punching it in. Mm-hmm. And then halftime came, and I feel like they made some adjustments. That we didn't adjust too, and they started calling stuff that, was beating our coverages, and, we just didn't make the proper adjustments. And, I feel like the second half, they jumped out on us fast.
Subtweet, our coaches lost the game for us.
That's exactly what he's saying, because the first half, our calls were good.
Yeah. In the second half, they made adjustments and then long pause, and we didn't adjust. He wasn't done.
And we've always heard that's kind of BS.
Yeah, but
Just adjust halftime adjustments.
halftime adjustments may be BS in terms of talking to the players, because they're in there eating their Uncrustables and changing their dry fit, getting water, but that doesn't mean the coaches aren't looking at the tablets and saying,
Okay, yeah.
"Hey, I
we
think
had
we
a
can
game
beat them
plan
here."
going in. This
Yes.
is not, or this is working, or whatever. And that's
Right.
what
That's
possibly
probably more
San
important.
Francisco did.
Yeah, and he wasn't done.
I feel like it was their coach,
So yeah, they're talking about how hard it is to stop the 49ers, and Mike is like, why is it that they're able to just do that on the fly and they're so good at it?
I feel like it was their coach. They had great coaching. Just adjusting to the things that we were running. Like, it felt like, everything that they called was just a counter to what we were in, and it was just like we was SOL. So, they got good players. Debo had a great game. Kittle, Hall of Fame wide receiver. Purdy's over here doing this thing as well. So, they got pieces. They got the right pieces. So they was executing.
Damn.
Okay, now I'm going to play you that
Damn.
as they talk about the coaches on defense. The first game they covered outside of the Cowboys was a big win for a division rival who they have quite the tie to.
The Eagles?
No.
Commanders?
Yes. They went on about their former head coach, defensive coordinator for about 3-4 minutes, and
'Cause
here's
they loved him.
part of that.
And that's who Dan represents, bro. People don't realize how high morale he had the team, the spirit he gave the defense, the energy, what he kind of gave all the players. Like, Shark Week, Fight Night, showing us boxing clips of motherfuckers getting knocked out. Like, that's the type of dude he was.
Had me ready to run through a wall.
Yeah,
He had me ready to run through a wall.
And
He's just a genuine person, like.
And I sit in that Commanders team now. Like.
Yeah, for sure.
And when they first started talking to Commanders, they were like, Uncle Dan's in the house. And about how much confidence that Jaden Daniels has to have playing for him. And, Mike Zimmer's a legendary head coach and coordinator who, as a coordinator, I guess could be in the Hall of Fame. But it's different, the way that they talk about one and the other.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find it real quick, but do you remember like the off season when they first were like,
Yeah, it was Micah didn't talk to Mike Zimmer.
Yeah.
For like 2 months or something.
Yeah. And and he's like, well, it's just a different way of doing things.
And there's no right or wrong. Some rah-rah coaches aren't
Right.
effective.
If things were going well, you would
Yeah.
say, oh, yeah, he's just a good teacher and all that.
But Dan Quinn also was rah-rah, and he would call pretty great games. Now, Mike Zimmer doesn't have 2 all-pro players right now in Deron Bland and Micah, and then you throw D-Law in there. So I'm not saying that their defense is getting mauled because they don't have Dan Quinn, but I am saying the players think that.
Yeah, no, and just to be doing it weekly on a podcast while things are unraveling, can't be great.
So we're going to get to the
it's bad enough in the off season.
Yeah, we're going to get to the Mike Leslie stuff, but a couple more things before that. Talking about all the injuries, obviously with the Bucs injuries of a couple weeks ago, the 49ers having a ton of injuries. They were talking about somebody else from Sunday, and I don't recall, but just like, hey, this is a big year for injuries. It is.
Do you think it makes a difference between field, grass, and turf, or is it just like, just one of those things?
Come on, Mike.
You want to be on that Kentucky grass.
I need that Kentucky bluegrass, man.
You think
that turf be too hard? It don't give. Like when we be in our practice facility, that turf As soon as you hit the turf, like my knees start hurting automatically just being on the turf.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of teams practice on turf, but it is funny that Cowboys players, the one who's probably the most reliant on speed and quickness, is like, I hate practicing there. Why can't we have grass?
And
That's where he got hurt.
Yeah.
and they should.
Yeah.
If that's what the players prefer and it would be better, they can afford it. They can afford to do
The maintenance.
to wheel the grass in or
like Arizona.
however
Yeah.
they're going to do it.
And Vegas.
And Vegas, yeah. And they even mentioned one of those two. I can't remember, but they were like, that's just a much better thing to run on.
But they could do it at their practice facility.
Easily.
I mean, they're worth the most of
Yeah.
any team. They can obviously easily afford it. That's their biggest, what do you call it, resource or whatever. Their players.
Money. Oh, yeah, for sure. But they could treat them,
Yeah.
but I'm not positive if you can land a chopper on the Kentucky bluegrass or not. And that's very important.
And you can't have a George Strait concert on the grass at AT&T. It'll never happen.
That's also true.
But you can wheel
roll
it.
it out. Yeah.
But have they done studies? Because players also will tell you that momentum exists, and I'm not buying that. But have they done a study that says, yes, there are less injuries on natural grass?
I feel like they have, but I'm not positive for you on that.
Or there's probably other things to take into account where if it's not, because you've seen natural grass fields that aren't installed correctly, and the one in Mexico a few years ago.
Washington has always been a
and
disaster.
you could actually get injured because it's just not stable.
Call RG3. One more here before we get to media fights.
Do you remember the old days when they would use baseball fields?
I can't believe, when I see clips of that now, it basically looks the same as having the goalpost on the goal line to me.
The
Like,
Browns
that's how-
played in Cleveland Stadium.
Dude.
And during the beginning of a football season, the Indians would play there during the week. They'd go away for a weekend series, and the Browns would play. And they would be on the infield dirt.
Yeah. It's
Like,
horrible.
it's incredible.
When you're a kid.
And they wouldn't even move the bases or home plate.
That's right, yeah.
The umpires.
The umpires were standing there.
When I was a kid, at a lot of youth associations, there's so many teams practicing that you've got to use the baseball fields. So they'd corner off like the Bronco or the Pony Field and
getting tackled on that
hurts
dirt.
bad, yeah.
Yeah.
So this one's funny because, again, when they talk, I didn't pull it because it's really long. I'll tee you up with this one. They're talking about Jaden Daniels and how incredible he is and what a bright future he's got and how they're excited to play him, 2 times this year and going forward. And Micah's like, man, he's got to be top 10 right now. And Diggs says higher. And Mike's like, top 10 or top 5. And Diggs like, yeah, he's in there. And Micah hits him with the, give me your top 5.
Oh, dear.
And he's
dear.
like, well, Mahomes, Lamar, Jaden. He's like, Josh Allen's having a great year. And then Micah's like, man, you got to put Jared Goff in there right now. Jared Goff's balling, Sam Darnold. They list probably 10 guys, and I can tell you whose name didn't come up.
Wow.
And the conversation, they started listing so many guys that
they don't even feel the obligation to do it.
that Diggs was like, man, there's so many dudes balling right now. I can't give you a top 5. And so the whole thing was, boy, there's so many great quarterbacks
Baker.
right now. They never even sniffed Dak. And along those same lines, here they are talking about the trade deadline.
If we could make a trade, what would you get?
Why are they talking about this?
Should they be doing
can't-
this?
They should
Okay.
not be doing
Should
this.
players be doing
So
this publicly?
you tell me if Diggs'
It's
response
great.
is smart or what I think it is, which I'll tell you after.
If we could make a trade, what would you get?
What would I get?
And by his look, I think he's genuinely thinking about it here.
It's a tough question.
On God.
It's a very tough question. Because it's like we already in it now. We got what we doing. Everybody know what we doing. It is what it is. We just gotta wait till our goons get back.
So you could view that as a politically correct answer, but based on how long he took to think about it and the look on his face, I think he did a quick scan of the roster and couldn't come up with an answer other than everything.
Right. Or
He
is
looked
he
at like offensive line and was like, that's going
Is he
real
realizing
bad.
if I say wide receiver, that's going to throw, Cooks under the bus or
Yeah,
whoever?
yeah, and that's probably what it is. However, they subtracted from just about every single position group over the offseason, whether it's, up front on either side, linebacker, running back, wide receiver. So
You know what they're going to say? Jerry will say this on his radio show or whatever, that the trade deadline, Micah's coming back.
I like
That's
that.
like we're adding a Micah.
Yeah, didn't
Who
they do
else is
that
coming
recently? Or who was that? Might have been the Mavs. I love that play though.
There's a bunch of injuries,
It's like adding,
not Pollard, Dowdle.
They were trying to say Overshown is an addition because
that's like a free draft pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diggs is looking around like, all right, offensive line. No, maybe running back's worse. We don't really have a second receiver either.
Again,
pass rush is not really doing much.
I'm complaining about this.
But it's great, right?
In the sense of, that I don't think your team should be doing this, but I absolutely love it.
All right, so I have
can't be helping.
a few on the Mike Leslie thing. We talked about this on the show yesterday, but Mike Leslie had tweeted out the video of Kittle getting loose for a big gain. And in the video, it's really not on Diggs because they're in man, and by the time Diggs peels off his man, Kittle has a full head of steam and is running down the sidelines. He does look like he doesn't really want to tackle George Kittle in the open field, but the bust was not his fault. That being said, when Mike Leslie tweeted it and said, what is Diggs doing on this play, it probably wasn't a good look for Trevon to, within 5 minutes of the game ending with his pads still on, go confront Mike Leslie.
You think that probably wasn't a good look?
Well, I can hold that thought because there's at least one guy who didn't think it was that big of a deal, and he's not one of these two. But, he ended it by telling him, Mike Leslie said we can talk about the play. Trevon hilariously said we can talk about these nuts, which is awesome. So he had a chance to sort of speak his mind on speaking his mind.
Yeah, I just felt like, it was unnecessary. I just felt like, he was trying to use my name, for clicks. And, after the game, I just happened to see it, and I looked.
I just happened to see it.
Just
happened to see it.
Like within minutes of that game ending.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't tagged.
No, it wasn't in the locker room, wasn't in a press conference.
After the game, I just happened to see it, and I looked, I clicked on it, I seen who it was. I was like, oh, he right here. Like, I just saw you. So I went up to him, and I just spoke how I felt. I felt like there was a lot of emotions, just losing, coming out the game. We fresh off the loss. I'm a competitor, so, I wanted to win. So, just a lot of emotions, and, I just kind of let my, emotions get the best of me. But
okay, he should have stopped right there, right? That's almost an apology. Not an apology, but like dude, because I'm on team. I think it's crazy for the most part that the media, this is a little different, but that the media can ask you questions about like one of the most emotional things that a human being can go through, which is playing a violent contact sport. Like you could get really hurt and you're conditioned to win. I think those scrums are weird. It's not natural. I wouldn't even really want someone outside of the studio at the end of the day.
Like right after.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that? Why'd you do this?
Right.
But he is doing he's doing a Little Red Riding Hood, like, oh, he just happened to be there. He was outside the locker.
Yeah,
you went outside the locker room in your pads. That is not a common occurrence.
You're right.
You went searching for him.
He passed him in the tunnel, but he did go back out searching for him.
Okay.
But he didn't stop there.
All right.
Emotions get the best of me, but, at the end of the day, it still doesn't make it right for anybody just to be saying anything or just trying to throw dirt on your name or make you, seem like you're doing bad or a bad job, because, I feel like I played my hardest game yesterday.
So he's still like, hey, it's not right.
At the end of the day, it's not right.
Yeah.
Not for him. What
No.
he did wasn't not right.
Correct.
What Mike Leslie did was not right.
And he went on to say,
Like, you would almost think he's a rookie who played at a small-time college that he's never had a media interaction before. He's been with the Cowboys for years.
And
he knows,
Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, he knows how overreactive everything is on the Cowboys.
Yeah. I think it's just a sign of how bad things are getting and that they don't really have firm leadership right now.
Right.
But
It's just like McCarthy and Dak in press conferences saying we didn't practice hard. Sure wish there was someone that we could tell that to to change practice. Maybe one of the leaders on the team could influence the others.
It's the Tim Robinson, I think you should leave hot dog meme where he crashes the Oscar Mayer wiener into a store and gets out dressed like the Oscar Mayer wiener. We're all wondering who did this. They had more.
I'm not going to just allow you to try to, make me seem out of that play, make me seem like I'm the problem.
No.
That's not cool. And you right here, you work for the Cowboys.
Nah.
Hold on. That cut is natural. It's not. I think he just dropped out for a second. He does correct himself.
And you right here, you work for the Cowboys. You for the Cowboys, you work, with us. You might not know what's going on, but that wasn't on me. So it just was weird to me, and I just didn't like that. So.
Okay, so one, he says you work for the Cowboys. And then he corrects himself like, oh, you don't work for the Cowboys. You work with. And then they're doing this weird deal where he's saying, Mike Leslie, that was not on me. That puts a little bit of respect on Mike Leslie's football knowledge because he's saying like, hey, that wasn't on me. However, throughout the whole thing, all they talk about is that the media doesn't know what they're talking about. So it is kind of interesting that they do both. And then this is the last one on the Leslie thing. Regardless of whether you work for the team, here they put the actual team's media in their crosshairs.
It almost seems like your media is painting a worse picture than anybody else out there. You know what I'm saying? Because they basically got the up close look, and they kind of, I kind of seen last night that, some of our media staff was saying this is the worst team chemistry and team morale that they seen since Colt. But how would they know that if they only in a locker room for, an hour throughout the week? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just it's weird to me that your team's media is trying to portray an image about you or trying to throw dirt on your name or throw dirt on your team's name. We supposed to be one. We supposed to be together. I know that's journalism and, they got to report what they report, but at the end of the day, you should be trying to protect us, if anything, not trying to be buddy-buddy with you, smile in your face, trying to talk to you, and talking about you online.
So now they're mad that the Cowboys famously, even right down to Jerry on the Fan, they don't really tell you, hey, don't write this, don't write that, at least to the degree that you would expect.
So they're not really just talking about DallasCowboys.com. They're just talking about cowboy media in general.
Yeah. I mean, I think Trevon was, but then here I feel like Diggs when he said I was looking at some of our team media. And
yeah, I don't know that they know. Do they know the difference?
They know, yeah. Because think about it. Trevon said you work for the Cowboys or you work with the Cowboys when he was talking about a WFAA guy.
I think he's looping everybody in.
He is, but I think also they know who are the Cowboys.
So
he's
saying
the facility
like
every
Mickey
day.
Or whoever works for the Cowboys should protect them?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what they think, which is ironic, again, because the Cowboys, I guess that doesn't make it ironic. The Cowboys will let you.
They're very clearly, though, way away from I don't pay attention to what the outside noise.
Hold that thought real quick, because the other topic that came up was the tours. And Micah's like, you know what? This is ridiculous. The tours don't affect you on the field at all. He said, I actually kind of like them. And more often than not, I'll say something to them before they say something to me. And Micah explained again that on Saturdays, he's like, we have family and friends day on Saturday. After our walkthrough, our light practice, we have ice cream and food trucks. I bring my friends and family that they hadn't taken the tour. They can take a tour. He's like, what does it matter? He's like, it's not the reason we're not winning big.
Okay.
It's because of what's happening on the field and our prep.
And that's supporting Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Trevon follows up. Again, Trevon, who just had that entire situation and then diatribe about said situation, which was based on outside noise.
Saban always told me, don't let outside factors, mess with what you got going on. Keep the main purpose, what the main purpose is. And that's when in football, can't nothing outside of that bother you, can't nothing outside of that affect you. Just you focus on what you need to do. Why do you care that somebody is watching you,
Mm-hmm.
So it
Facts.
shouldn't matter that we having tours and doing stuff like that. Like, you do your job, you doing what you're supposed to do. What do you care for? It don't got nothing to do with you. They not touching you. They ain't talking to you. They're not doing nothing to you. So what you care for?
Those comments were made roughly 7 minutes apart.
Yeah, like, yes, play that before the other part. It's interesting. He's quoting Saban.
Yeah.
And not the guy he's been playing for years.
Oh.
Which tells me,
yeah, it is Saban.
You know the respect you have on certain guys. And then I even go back to the other one when he's talking about the outside noise, or when he's talking about the media and Cowboy media, or is it all media that covers the Cowboys? But because he's saying they shouldn't say the chemistry is bad in here because you're only in here an hour, but like clearly they're so paying attention to everything. Like, I haven't seen the article that says the chemistry is bad in the Cowboy locker room.
It was news to me.
And they have?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're referencing.
I know.
Can they put it in the show notes so I can click on all the links?
With the promo code?
Yeah, but it could just be Cowboys Twitter for all we know.
And that's most likely what it is.
Which is often tons of fans.
Yeah, but like they'll see
where someone's going to say anything about, about anything. I've had people, even in our tiny world, a couple people that were up at the Den the other night to watch the game are like, oh man, I was getting comments on me, like not me, them.
Yeah.
They were sitting in the Den. I'm like, all right, if you think we get comments,
yeah,
try being a Dallas Cowboy. You're going to hear everything from every angle, and that's why you have to block it out, because you're going to have a lot of positive. You're going to have a lot of
money,
and they don't block it out when things are going great because they love it. It's fun to be loved.
Yeah, it is, and
so I've heard.
That was very funny to me. But to wrap this up, they had to ask Jerry about it. So whether or not, maybe some of RJ's questions in here, but it's, hey, it kind of looks like when a player just goes right after a reporter, maybe it feels like they're focusing on the outside and that the message is not the only thing they're focusing on. Does that upset you, Jerry? You have a problem with it?
Is that an indication to you that their focus might be elsewhere?
Not at all. Not at all. They're focused on, they're disappointed that they didn't make a play, or they are more aware than anybody about what they might not have done, where they busted an assignment, could have made a play. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
All right, he keeps going, but the point is, the guy who's in charge is like, that doesn't matter to me at all. Of course, if you've had a problem with something the guy said and you're upset, go tell him that shit.
Jeez.
Like in most other NFL organizations,
yeah,
the coach or the general manager, maybe just behind the scenes, Jerry's answer might just be, I get it, he was upset, we talked about it. You don't have to say like, I made him run sprints.
Yeah.
But you don't just say, no, it doesn't bother me at all. That's how human beings are. In fact, I think it's kind of awesome. Set them straight. So another week of Cowboys soup, or the Cowboys turn. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff. It ain't like Atlanta's easy. Atlanta might be better than Dallas right now.
They are.
Well, we'll look at Atlanta and the other teams. After we take a break.